All right, it is 7:01. I'll call the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. I do have an added agenda item. I'd like to add as agenda item 9C, a discussion of the cloud permit software proposal. May I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There's somebody in the meeting room by the name of one, and I'm concerned about admitting that because of the Zoom bombing thing.
Oh.
Maybe
we should let them in and ask them who they are.
I think you can message them right from there and not let them in.
All right, so we had a motion and a second, we voted. Pledge of allegiance. Sarah, would you be honest?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item is approval of minutes from March 20th. Is there a motion?
To approve the Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes from March 20th, 2025.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Motion has been seconded. What do you got for discussion?
On page 4. BYOB, bring your own food beverages. The way it's worded here, you can only have beer and wine. Be corrected.
All in favor of the minutes as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, public participation. This is one of two opportunities for members of the public to address the Board of Selectmen. I'll first ask if there's anybody here in the room who would like to do so, and then provide anybody online with the same opportunity. Is there anyone here who would like to address the Board of Selectmen? Is there anyone online who would like to address the members of the Board of Selectmen? All right, we'll have another opportunity later on. I do have a proclamation just designating this month as National Volunteer Month. We'll move on to new appointments. We have one new appointment applicant, Carol Muska, who's here, has expressed interest in serving on the Elderly Commission for a regular term expiring on April 3rd, 2027. Any comments from the board? Is there a motion?
Carol Muska, the term expiring.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? I'll just say, Carol, thank you for stepping forward. I'm excited about what this commission will be able to be doing once we're in the community center. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
For the appointment.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Stay.
Abstain. Three in favor, one abstention. Thank you, madam. All right. I'm going to ask that we postpone 9A until after executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tax refunds.
Approve the tax refunds totaling $16,828.19.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alan, we're just keeping this in suspense there for a minute.
Aye.
Okay. While we're waiting for copies for the added agenda item, let's move on to selectmen's reports. All right, first of all, coming up on Tuesday, April 8th at 2:00 at East Windsor, I'm sorry, 2:30 at East Windsor High School. The track will be rededicated in honor of George Croft. Mr. Croft, as many people will remember, was a longtime history teacher and track coach at East Windsor High School who touched many, many, many lives. The rededication ceremony will begin at 2:30 p.m. Light refreshments will follow, and then a home track meet will be held there at 3:45 against Mr. Croft's hometown of Ellington. So please consider joining us as we celebrate a really, truly remarkable guy. The Stiles Bridge replacement project is scheduled to start its next phase on Monday. And what that will mean is that the Stiles Bridge going across the Scantic River will be gone. So that will be impassable from April 7th until about November 10th, assuming that that is on schedule. It is a state job already behind setting the table. In the meantime, your means of traversing the town will be limited to going down Cemetery Road and up Amelia or down 140, but the Stiles Bridge will not be available. On March 25th, I joined municipal leaders from our region, as well as Town Planner Ruth Calabrese and EDC Chair Noreen Farmer, for a meet and greet opportunity with Advanced CT, which is a statewide organization that helps facilitate economic development opportunities in the state, in our region, and amongst our municipalities. So it was a great opportunity to talk about economic challenges and opportunities affecting all of us and affecting each of us uniquely. We're going to have a follow-up discussion with them specifically about East Windsor in the next coming weeks. On March 26th, I was pleased to present the budget request approved by the Board of Selectmen to the Board of Finance. Dr. Tudrin, Kate Curie-Troll, and a student from East Windsor High School presented on behalf of the Board of Education, which is really the beginning of the Board of Finance's role in the budget process. They have since had 2 budget workshops. They have 2 more scheduled, including when they're going to make any adjustments to either the Board of Selectmen's request or the Board of Education's request. And then after they approve their recommendation, that will be sent to voters for a referendum on May 13th. So we're kind of like a little further than the midway point of the budget process for this cycle. This past Saturday, I was pleased to welcome the Connecticut Fairs Association to East Windsor for their spring meeting, not their annual meeting, their spring meeting. About 100 fair managers from around Connecticut were there to talk about their plans for the upcoming fair season. And these fairs provide opportunities to showcase local agriculture, to educate fairgoers, to provide direct marketing opportunities for local growers, and to build a sense of community when they're hosted. So I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to join them. And then yesterday evening, the ad hoc committee met to discuss the potential options for school renovation for our school buildings, school renovation and new construction. The architects put together a nice presentation that looked at our existing infrastructure, as well as space needs and availability as we consider moving that project forward. The committee will meet next on April 9th, and anyone interested in the process or the progress is encouraged to attend that. That's all I have. Right?
The only thing I have is just keep people aware that the Citizen Academy that's been go around has started up, and the cadet program is off and running. They just did a day at Hartford Police Department. Those youth, and for most of them, was the first time they've ever experienced any kind of anti-military kind of behavior. So we kind of caught them off guard a little bit, but they all succeeded through and made it. So that's a good thing. They're currently in the process of going to be doing 2 fundraisers. One fundraiser is going to be on Saturday the 12th. So if you have any bottles or cans or willing to make a donation, they want to send them to I believe it's Westfield College in Massachusetts for a week of training session there. It's about $730 per child to go. So they're doing the can fundraiser, looking for donations for anyone that's willing to make one. You can make the check out to East Windsor Police Cadets. And then on April 28th, I believe, they're doing a fundraiser at Red Robin's in Enfield.
April 28th.
April 28th.
Al, thank you very much.
Yeah, so planning and zoning has a public hearing in progress for Aldi's on Route 5, just north of the Comfort Inn, and that empty lot that's there. Most of the people that spoke about it spoke about concerns with traffic, and in fact, one of the people had a pretty good point that the traffic study did not take into account the 55 plus apartments that haven't been occupied yet, the 330 that are proposed currently, and this project as well. So they're going to have a more in-depth talk about the traffic study at the next public hearing. So that should be pretty interesting. Wetlands brought in received two applications. One is on Route 5. That's near the wetlands. It's the old guitar barn. I don't remember what it was called, but
Music barn.
music barn.
Not even there anymore.
Yeah, they did take that down. And the other is North Road next to Leeson Group. So those are both going to be seen in the next month's meeting, and that's it.
Do we know what's going in there? Next to
Leeson.
A commercial building. I don't know any more than that yet.
It's because there's a lot of water issue right there.
Yeah, it is a wet all the way around it, and that's what they'll be talking about at wetlands.
Plans I saw had, I think, 3 garage bays and an office. Plan I saw.
Sure.
Have anything this evening?
Keith.
I'm all set tonight, thanks.
Let's go back then to 9C. And take up the conversation around the cloud permit software proposal. That's the document that Mr. Rich just handed out. Questions or anything you want to say about this?
Does anybody have any questions on it?
What is this replacing? Like, you have something in place right now? Yeah. And so we're not gonna renew that one anymore? We're gonna replace it with this?
Yeah.
So, and what does that one cost about? Any idea?
That one's fee supported. So it's a model where you pay $10 per permit.
Right, that was the fees that you gave us on the fee list last time, permit link fees.
Yeah, I'm still gonna keep that same
Fee,
It's gonna go into a general fund, say, but
right.
I'm gonna keep it in there. So that'll help for the cost.
Can you just tell us what's the what's the reason and what's the benefit of moving to this software versus the old one?
Sure, so the one we have now, I'm operating with it right now, and it's okay, it's kind of slow, but it's never gonna offer me any more than what I have. I have to have a secondary plan review, which I love, but it doesn't integrate with permit. So I was trying to get something where planning and zoning, the assessor, the fire marshal's office, the tax department, everybody could just hop on and use it. And if any, like, especially the assessor. So if Helen wants to know what buildings were demoed, how many COs have gone on last month, she could just log on and look right into our stuff.
And so, and I understand, so this is all cloud-based, so anyone can log in online.
Yeah, and you
Right.
guys,
And what happens with the data storage? Right now, our permanent storage data goes to a certain place, right? Like on site here somewhere?
it'll transfer. That's part of this fee where they take the data and transfer it over.
So the cloud-based service though, does this store the data, our town data in their servers? Or do we also have an opportunity to back up data to ours at the same time? In case something happened with their servers, would we lose all of our
Well, as
permitting data,
far as I know, it's cloud-based. So
right?
what that means, Keith,
I'm not sure.
I really don't know.
I know Alan would jump in and tell us.
But we don't,
I'm being patient.
we don't host our data on our server. Our data is hosted currently on PermitLink server,
Right.
would be hosted on cloud. So
I think this isn't a discussion for you, but maybe down the road with IT or Alan will join, weigh in on maybe on this, but I would think that we'd want to make sure we have backup data to our server somewhere in case their servers got compromised or stolen or whatever. We want to make sure we don't, because this is permitting data. This is like historical data for our permit systems and
Yeah, it's.
Right. It's really important data, right?
Ever since the town of East Windsor started to use the online based permits. That's what it's gonna go by. We do have some historical information in there, but when it transferred over last time, it came over very generic,
Mhm.
so, but this time we have everything in there. It's gonna go as we see it today.
Right. Well, again, just noticing the cost is less than the requirement to send out the bid. It's not a right because it's below the threshold. It's sort of in the range of, have you done your due diligence to make sure the pricing is reasonable, but you already know the current cost and it sounds like this is going to be somewhat in line with PermitLink.
well, I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
They've also done the due diligence and compared other softwares and costs. OpenGov is one you guys had looked at, right?
OpenGov and Tyler, we've looked at quite a few.
Good.
There was OpenGov, Tyler, and Cloud Permit that we saw that can go through all the different departments and give us what we need. And then you guys, especially the public, how easy is it to log in, look for information, get a permit, any kind of permit? We just wanted it to be as easy as possible, and I'll tell you, it needed to be easy for me, so, and it seems to be. It's, right now, it seems pretty nice. I think it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. All I've heard is good things about what's going on in your department in terms of the work you guys are doing. So it seems that you're moving it along in terms of making more improvements and increasing efficiencies and I haven't heard anything but good things. So it sounds like you're making a recommendation for another positive improvement to enhance your efficiency. So it sounds good to me. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Sarah?
Sure, so we're getting rid of PermitLink altogether.
Yes,
Are we in a current contract with them that we'll be breaching?
Yes, we are in a current contract with them. There is a notice provision, so we can cancel at any time with appropriate notice. I think it's 60 days.
Okay.
But there's probably going to be a point in time where we're overlapping between the two systems anyway to make sure that this gets up and running before we shut off what we had. So there is a notice for termination, but we'll be able to satisfy the terms.
And there's no cost to us to get out of the contract?
No,
The notice?
there would have been under the original iteration of the contract, but this is we're in the second term of it, so there is no.
Thank you.
Could I add just a piece of information? It's Ruth Calabrese. There is a fee for the exporting of data from PermitLink, not to exceed $1,500. They charge per the permit type, like everything that's in the system under a given permit type, but they cap it at 15, so it ends up being 1,500
Yeah,
as
so
a
that's what
max
I
cost
was.
to export.
Sorry, yeah, that I was gonna ask, one of the questions is, I remember, and I couldn't remember which contract, and maybe it's the PermitLink contract that we had the lawyers take a look at. And that was one of the things, and I wanted to, I mean, this is a proposal and this is great, and, I agree with everything as far as the pricing and what it's gonna do for us. But we need to see a contract, right, before we can do anything. And in that contract, we need that same language. How do we get out? How do we break up? You know,
You
and
have a contract, right?
do we,
Yeah, I-
okay. So what are we doing?
So, well, I mean, if you want to review the contract, you can do that. But what I was hoping, and there's a reason why we're doing this tonight. The proposal is the proposal. Josh has looked at the contract and didn't have any changes that he needed to have made to it. What happens if we execute tonight?
Then we get this pricing with the code enforcement module attached. So basically,
As a kicker. So throwing it in.
so right now, the code enforcement module is in there. Which as of recent, for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, I really could have used that.
Understood.
But if we don't do it, right now, they're just giving it to us. Okay, Jason's been involved in a lot of this too, but it was, they just said, listen, we'll give you this, but they wanted it by the end of the month.
End of March.
And Jason said, no, I have a meeting, I gotta put it in front of the board. And then they said, well, can you sign it?
And then get permission after the fact. And I said, no.
Yeah.
And the fourth isn't good either. Potentially. Well, here's my concern. This is an SAS database, which is proprietary. So we need to know what can they export the data? If we want to break up with them and go back to PermicLink or OpenGov or whomever, what's it going to cost to get that data like we did before? And what kind of format can they give it in? So we know that it's usable by, like, say the OpenGov is actually open software, you know, so it uses Hadoop or whatever database. Can we get an XML, you know, export of all the data so we can import? Because that's where we lose. And we've learned this in many different, the fire department, the bank, everywhere. Like all these, you got to be able to break up good. And we need to lay that out in the contract before we sign. So that could be maybe done by tomorrow, but I would want to make sure that, Josh understands that's what we need and he can put that in the contract and we're good with that. I don't have to wait until next week and see it myself or anything like that, but I need to know that that's in there before I can, because like if we get 10 years of data and then they're like, well, here you got this SAS stuff. Good luck. That's expensive to like convert.
The data ownership is the specific piece I had Josh take a
Right,
look at
we've
it
done that.
in light of view permit. I mean, we learned that lesson.
Yeah,
So he
And then-
said, yeah, you're protected here. The language, he didn't have an issue with.
data ownership, good. And then, but to go deeper a little bit is we need to know specifically in the contract, what are you going to provide if we need to get our data? What can you provide in what format? How much is that going to cost? And is it everything? And, because if we go to another SAS software, but no problem. But if you go to some other database, some other software that uses a different database, then it's not gonna match up and you'll have to do stuff and it costs more. I mean, nothing's impossible, but it costs more.
Okay.
Well, they're charging $1,500 to import it. And PermicLink's charging $1,500 to export it. So
And
these guys are in the business of making money on these transactions. So it sounds like the SAS conversion, they're probably converting it to the format they're using from DataLink, and then they must have but we're paying for it. Sounds like everybody.
I want to know what that is
Right.
right, because SAS is different than everybody else. It's proprietary.
Okay.
It's like Apple,
Yeah.
whatever.
So you said that the code enforcement they're gonna give to us, that the package himself, because there's a fee every year for code enforcement, starting the first year, 2000, and works its way up to.
Right, so what it was, the building was at 5,000 some odd dollars and the land use was at 4,000. So what he did is he adjusted the numbers to put a fee in it, but it's the same price. He said,
I got you.
He said, I gotta have a number. So that's what he did.
Give Al a second here.
Yeah, it's not in there. It's not, I mean, this is all termination stuff, but it doesn't say, we will provide you the data in this format for how much money.
So this cloud base, so this cloud base can't
Type in
go into
export.
our cloud base? It's not compatible?
Well, the cloud is just a general
Yeah.
term for a whole bunch of servers.
Right.
And you could have an Amazon AWS server, which is a different kind of a database. You could have Hadoop servers, you could have SAS. You could have a whole bunch and they can all be on, on all different cloud platforms. So you want to know kind of specifically what you're getting into so you can get out of it.
Right there.
If I could just add that they kind of bridge the two
Not-
systems that are, if you're
You can
exporting.
go ahead and download it if you want to. That's basically what that says.
I didn't hear what Ruth said.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Yeah, I stopped just so you guys could finish. The export import, as I understand it, is done by way of Excel or another type of file, which I can't remember the acronym for.
CSV.
So yes, CSV. So it comes out, it would come out of one platform, all the fields identified in a spreadsheet, and the next platform who's importing has the receiving field on the other side, and it's pulling it all in to the new system.
Yeah, and this is
So I'd
specific.
imagine it's
To the fullest extent commercially reasonable during the term of the agreement. So if we don't have an agreement, then what? Right? So that's not really breakup language. That's while we're in contract with them, they'll let us pull data because this is more like, I want to run my own reports. I want to do some of my own stuff. We wouldn't do that. We're too small, but I want to pull all this data and that's basically what that's covering.
All right, so you want language in that section, right? 6.8?
Yeah.
That addresses our right to export the data.
Would like them to provide all the data in the case of a termination of the contract and what, I want to specify what formats they can provide it in. And if it's only a CSV or XML is preferred, but CSV is fine too. And yet how much exactly for everything? Specifically if we're leaving kind of thing, This covers, like I said, if I wanted to have my own database of the stuff and run my own reports in a different format or whatever, do something different with the data, they're fine with that.
Okay. That's the gist of it.
Yep. And I know Josh can write that up and I need to see it again after that, but
Yeah, he's not gonna be able to write it up in time for me to sign it tomorrow.
they're going to have to give us a few more days.
Why don't we approve it subject to the edits in the contract and a conversion price not to exceed $1,500, these breakup fees.
That's what I'm saying, but they're saying that they need to have this sign the contract with no further changes or we don't get the deal.
Yeah, they want the contract
Like a
signed
used car
by March
dealership.
31st. But they also told us that on like March 25th. So
I think if they know that we've approved it, subject to that modification, they're gonna,
Say that to them.
they'll let
I
it
mean, I can't believe that they're going to,
walk away from.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that. But you never know.
we can try that.
Well, you're 4 days late already.
So give me that motion and authorization and then we'll see what happens.
And make a motion to authorize the first selectman to sign the proposal and the contract or accept the proposal and sign the contract for the cloud permit software with the stipulations that we discussed this evening.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'm gonna email Josh Carpentier and you and our attorney tonight with that information and the language change, and we'll see what happens.
Or he's gonna be talking to me. So,
Okay. All right, well, that's my agenda. So we're now on to public participation, the second opportunity for members of the public to address the board. Is there anybody here and present who would like to address the board of select? Calculate. Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to go into executive session to include just the 5 selectmen, and action will follow.
Move that we go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Executive session at 7:30. It's 8:11. We're out of executive session. Turn now to agenda item 9A. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to enter into the Windsor Show Stables mediated settlement.
And authorize my
And
signature.
authorize the signature of the first one.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next order of business is adjournment. Is there a motion?
Here we go.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned at 8:11 PM.